Start recording. So, chapter 6, lifting and moving patients. So, yeah, about January of 19, had just gotten done with a call for a patient with chest pain. So, the building we were at, they closed at 5 o'clock. So, you know those places where, like, as soon as 5 o'clock hits, they're clocking out, and by 5 and 1 second, they're already out the door?
Yes, sir.
That's how that place is. So, the they had left. It was a few minutes after 5, and they'd already shut off the lights. So I'm going down the stairs, and I usually use the handrail anyway. And I'm getting to the last step, or what I thought was the last step. So there I go. I'm like, okay, I remember thinking, okay, I'm almost down. And yeah, that step was a long step. My momentum going down, I didn't realize it, and so I toppled over. I landed on my shoulder, my back, and I heard like when you crack your knuckles. So kind of felt that. It really sucked. And a few days later, my back really started bothering me. So it was horrible. Unfortunately, I didn't say something. This is important to always report it. No matter how minor you think it is, later on it could turn out to be bad. So I was bad for a couple weeks, but it got better. But that's not my only back injury I've ever had. I've had at least 3. One of them, this is where they figured out I had narrowing of my spine, and I got slip discs in my back. Now I was out of work for a long time. Actually, I settled that case, fortunately and unfortunately. I even had a butt strain injury. They kept calling it back. I'm like, no, it's not back. It's a backside injury, but not back. But that was horrible. You see, the butt strain was at one company. The other one was at that company. My partner and I, we had a 450-pound female. So a little light. And one of the things, and I'm going to tell you right now, on Monday when we're doing this, there has to be communication, okay? The last group that we did this with, I was screaming at them because they weren't communicating right. And they actually dropped one of the students. We had the student on the gurney, and they just weren't doing it right. And I'm screaming at them, let go, let go, let go. And they didn't, and then went straight down. Fortunately, she wasn't injured. So we dodged one there. But I don't want anyone getting hurt. I'm not going to challenge you guys with weight. We'll try to get some smaller people on the gurney, so at least you're used to a little bit of weight. All right. Communication is very, very important when it comes to lifting and moving patients, because your backs are important. And I was talking to my colleague earlier, kind of mentioned like it's not if you hurt your back, it's when you hurt your back. I think most EMS providers have hurt their backs at one time in their careers. So got to be very careful with your backs. So what we're going to do, and I forgot to really expand this. I want to see your happy faces. All right. So what we're going to go over is proper body mechanics for lifting, general guidelines for lifting and moving patients. We're going to talk about lifting and moving patients, then packaging and transportation, or packaging for transportation. And lastly, general guidelines for carrying a patient using a backboard, portable stretcher, and or a flexible stretcher. There are some things I miss and some things I really don't miss. All right. So EMTs Ricardo and Marisol have just arrived at the scene of a 60-year-old man who injured his neck and back when he fell down 12 wooden steps. Ouch. Landing on a concrete floor. Double ouch, right? So we got to think about injuries. 60 years old, bones become thinner. And with women, it's worse, but we got an old man. So, well, 60 is not that old because I'm not far behind. But we got to think about some injuries. As they provide spine motion restriction precautions and conduct their assessment, Ricardo estimates that the patient, who is over 6 feet tall, weighs about 260 pounds. Damn, that's a big boy. The patient complains of numbness to his arms and legs and a sharp neck pain. Uh-oh. I foresee a spinal cord injury. This is going to be interesting. So what factors should Ricardo and Marisol consider in deciding how to get that patient from the basement into the ambulance?
Let's just start by holding C-spine.
Okay. But we already did that.
Oh, okay.
So what else?
I would say the injury itself, sir.
Okay. So the injury is a factor. So what else do we need to consider in order to get into that ambulance from the basement?
Call for backup.
Yeah.
Okay.
The space you have out, once you get her up the stairs, or get him up the stairs to see if you're going to be able to fit with the gurney or not.
Well, trust me, you don't want to take that gurney up and down stairs.
Mm-hmm.
A stair chair.
But he has a spinal injury.
Oh,
I'm on a backboard.
just
A
on the
backboard or a
Okay.
portable stretcher.
Okay. So what factors do you need to take into consideration if you're going to get him up with a backboard?
His weight,
What was that?
his weight,
His weight. What else?
Spade.
His pain to his
Yeah,
neck.
space for sure.
His what?
Space.
His face.
No, the space that you have going up the stairs.
Okay. So the width of the stairwell.
Yes.
Okay.
And his injuries.
Okay. Again, with a numbness in his arms and sharp neck pain, we got to think about a spinal cord injury high up. And that's why he has numbness to his arms.
to stabilizing his back.
Okay.
Yeah, mobilizer.
All right. So let me rephrase this because you guys are telling me more of the injury stuff. I want to hear more about what are you going to do to safely get him up the stairs to the ambulance. So somebody said call for help. And then somebody said to get a backboard. So we talked about his weight.
Yeah.
Now, this is not meant to be a put down, but if you look at Ricardo and Marisol, I'm not saying they don't work out, but even for two other people, that might be a challenge. And the other thing too is that going up those stairs, you have to keep the guy level as you're going up. You can't be this way because he can slide off, even though you might secure him well. But how uneasy is the patient going to feel?
It's gonna feel uncomfortable or not
Pretty
unsafe.
uneasy because he doesn't have control. So what might he want to do to try to gain that control?
I want to try to
Put his
stand
hands
up
down.
or move.
He'll try to grab the handrail. There's one. or grab onto something to stabilize himself. And I can tell you, that's the worst feeling when you're going up. All of a sudden, you feel that sudden jerk where you can lose your grip. So you definitely want help. Again, the height, he might extend past the end of the backboard. And so you'll have boots on your chest. And for the females, you might have boots on your boobs. And it's a big guy, and then you're going upstairs, so it might affect the way that you're lifting him and carrying him. How many steps?
Yeah.
The gurney's going to be at the top of the
Straight stairs or
stairs, so that won't be an issue. What was that?
If they're straight stairs or if they actually like turn on you.
Okay, the top of the stairs, yeah. What else?
Mm. What about your capabilities too, sir? Like what, like you were referencing earlier, like how strong you are,
Yep.
or who you're paired with.
Know
I'm
your
5'10".
limits.
With boots on, I'm close to 6 foot. That butt injury, the girl or the patient, big girl, also about 450 pounds, 450, 500 pounds. My partner was about 5'2" with 4-inch heels.
Oh shit.
No, but she was like 5'2". So 6 foot to 5'2", big difference, right?
Yeah.
She can kind of lift, but the issue wasn't lifting her. The issue was, well, it wasn't. As I was bringing her out, the center of gravity shifted on me, and it just, I'm eating a cookie, that's why I turned off my camera. As I'm bringing her out, like I said, the center of gravity shifted, and it jerked me down. So I had to lift it up so the undercarriage, and we have that type of gurney here, where the wheels swing down, and then they lock. Well, it wasn't up high enough. One, she was heavy, so I couldn't fully get the wheels to lock. And so I decided to go on my tippy toes to get that little extra lift to lock those wheels. And when I tippy toed, that's when I felt the pull on my gluteus maximus. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything else really to consider. Oh, one other thing maybe is obstacles. Remember, it's a basement, so how many obstacles might they have to get to the stairs? All right. So believe it or not, pretty much every call that we go on requires lifting and moving patients. You don't have to worry about it if it's an AMA, against medical advice, a refusal. But if it's not, guess what? You got to lift them into the ambulance. Now, granted, there are some that walk it into the ambulance and they get on your gurney, but then when you get them to the hospital, what do you have to do? You have to offload that patient on the hospital gurney. People come in all shapes and sizes. And so there are going to be challenges. There are some that are really light, not a big deal. I used to be able to pick up little old ladies with one arm, one hand. That was way, way long time ago. Nowadays, like, no. So we got to be able to reduce the risk of injury to us. And we do it by following proper body mechanics. Because you do something improper, you're not ready, you don't communicate, whatever it is, we can suffer injuries as a result. But worse yet, we could injure the patients. And you don't want to injure patients because that's when families and lawsuits are involved. So you want to be very, very careful. Worst thing you could do is drop a gurney with a patient on board. So, all right. So you want to use proper body mechanics to be able to get the body to do the work. When they say work smart, not hard, this is definitely the case. Basic body mechanics, first off, keep the weight as close as possible. Keep it close to you. You have more core strength. When it's further away, you're not using all your muscle groups. And that's the second thing. Use your leg, hip, and butt muscles to lift. Don't use your back. Your back, you might feel like it's strong, but it's not that strong. You want to use your legs. Hmm. All right. It might look funny,
What?
but you need to get down there and use those leg muscles. Okay. Next, stack the shoulders, hips, and feet. Like I said, you want your feet shoulder width apart, and your hips should be nice and centered. And then the last thing is reduce the height or the distance in which you have to move that object. The less height or distance, the easier it's going to be. Like I said, work smart, not hard. They have equipment now, and I don't know if you saw it on Night Watch, but there's a long bar that comes out. When they put the gurney in, it locks them to this mechanism, and it holds on the gurney. It keeps it in place, and then they lift up the wheels, and so this bar is holding the weight of that gurney and the patient. So it's already up off the ground. So there's no lifting on your part, and you just push it straight in. And on the way out, they just grab it, they pull out the gurney. Again, no lifting. They lower the wheels. It's already on the ground. They just unhook it, and off they go. Not a lot of companies have that system. They have power cots now. Most ambulance services have power cots now. Best thing for an EMT's back. I wish those were around when I first started. Press a button, it goes up. Press another button, it goes down.
Can't wait till they make them lighter.
Yeah, yeah. But you got to remember, people are heavier now. Notice I said heavier and not fatter.
Smart choice
Because
of
I'm actually
words.
lighter. I'm still fat. I'm just lighter. Yeah, I'm telling you, gurneys will weigh probably about at least 75 pounds. And I think this is where one of my back problems comes from, is posture. Make sure you maintain good posture and finish your back. Work out the back muscles. Work out your biceps and your triceps. If you already know you have some strength issues, hey, you know what? I think it's a good idea to maybe start working out some, because you will be challenged, and we'll find out on Monday. I think I am going to have, actually, I take that back. I haven't done it. What was I saying?
Monday.
Oh yeah, working out Monday. I was thinking about having you guys do the stair chair, but that's getting too close and personal. So, there's other things that we're going to do, but if I have any volunteers, we might do it. Maybe we'll do a couple just to show you guys, and I won't have everybody do it. But anyway, lifting the gurney, you guys are gonna feel the burn. Not that burn, but feel the burn. So they talk about kyphosis and lordosis. Kyphosis, the upper part, it's kind of like that hunchback, or what they call the slouch position. It's an abnormal curvature of the spine. It's from all sitting over. That affects the spine. Whereas lordosis, let's think about lordosis as lower back. And so again, abnormal curvature towards the front, because that's the way the cervical spine curves. So kyphosis, upper back, lordosis, lower back. Abnormal curvature of the spine. As far as proper standing posture, you want to be straight, standing tall. Don't lock your knees. Bring out that chest. Square off the shoulders. Or it can never do. Feet flat on the ground, standing straight up. Can you tell how comfortable or how much I'm following those rules for sitting? I should just lean back on my chair. Work your leg muscles. Work your back muscles. Although you don't want to be using your back, but work your leg muscles. Work your arms. You want to be able to be flexible. You're going to be in all sorts of different environments, a lot of different, you do a lot of different movements, things that you're not used to. I always hate when they talk about nutrition. Sure, let me eat another chocolate chip cookie while I talk about nutrition. All right. But eating a well-balanced diet will help with the body. All right. So when we're lifting a heavy object, do we want to use our legs or our back?
Legs.
Like,
Excessive lumbar curve resulting in sway back is what?
Lordosis.
Lordosis. Ideally, in a perfect world, which we know doesn't exist, You want to be evenly matched with your partner. Private ambulance companies, guess what? They don't do that. I tell you right now. You know, ideally, you'd want like Julio partnered up with Gabe. They look about same height. I don't know about strength. Julio's guns are bigger. But you want to be, you know, fairly even with height and strength. But that's not always possible. So what you have to do as far as teamwork is you have to work as a team. The weird thing, well, there's two weird things. Number one, the taller of the two should be at the head, because the head has to go up higher than the feet of the gurney. So you want the taller person in the back. Most of the time, it's the guy in the back and the female at the front. Now, the other weird thing is, ladies, you're going to have the firefighters tripping over their tongues to help you out. Vanessa's seen it. Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry.
No worries.
With COVID going on, not so much, sir.
No,
Why?
just the flu.
Are you talking about her sneeze?
No, with helping pretty ladies on an ambulance. With COVID going on, it's not worth it.
Hey, Vanessa, you see his nose getting bigger?
He's only telling the truth because they actually got orders that they're not supposed to if they're not asked for assistance. So he's actually telling the truth for once.
He just doesn't want to get in trouble. But when no one's around, he's not saying anything. He's doing it. But honest to goodness, that's what happens. I had a partner. She used to hate it when the firefighters would volunteer to help her out, because she was more than capable. She was almost my height. But she used to hate it. It's like, no, I could do this. And she really could. She really could. So, ideally, someone about the same height and strength abilities as you. If not, it's not the end of the world. You just got to find a way to get it done. Okay. And again, with the power cots, it makes it a little bit easier, because you just push a button, so it doesn't matter who's at the front or back. But to load it into the ambulance, that's where it can be an issue. So you still have to lift it. I lost a lot of strength where I couldn't even a light person, I could not lift them up myself into the ambulance. Luckily, I had younger, stronger partners that were able to do that for me. I always said they didn't want me for my body, they wanted me for my mind. No, you guys didn't like that joke?
Yes, sir.
Communicate, communicate, communicate. You have to be looking at each other. You have to be saying something. You got to be talking to each other. Before lifting. And there's something you should figure out how you're going to do it. Did you guys see the movie Lethal Weapon 2? Okay.
A long time
Some of you
ago.
did?
No,
Some of you
sir.
did? Huh?
I haven't.
Most of them are pretty good. Lethal Weapon 2, Murtaugh is on top of a toilet. And the toilet is wired to a bomb. So the moment he sits up or stands up, it's going to go off. So they've done a couple things and they're like, all right, ready? All right, we're gonna pull you off, buy you a couple seconds or a second or whatever. They're like, okay. All right, so we'll do it on the count of 3. Ready? He's like, wait. What do you mean 3? Do you mean 1, 2, 3 and go, or 1, 2 and go on 3? So that's the point of that story, that some people are like 1, 2 and then go on 3, whereas others go 1, 2, 3 and then go. Okay, because if you're the kind that goes on 3 and the other one's the kind that goes on, or that goes 3 and then goes, you might have a lifting problem. So you have to coordinate. So the way that my partners and I in the past have taken care of that, we talk, and then one of us will say, "You ready? I'm 3." And if there's no negative answer, then you start counting. So it would be like, all right, ready on 3? 1, 2, 3, and then lift. Now, if anywhere along the way the other person says, hold on, you stop right there. Ready on 3? Yeah, 1, 2, stop, hold on. I'm holding. So there has to be that communication, okay? Especially with a patient on there. But here's the other thing. We were talking about getting that patient up the stairs. I mentioned how they're going to be feeling uneasy. Whether it's a backboard, a flexible stretcher, whatever it is, they're going to feel uneasy. You need to let them know what you're doing. All right, sir, we're going to go ahead and carry you up these stairs. And this is what I do. And do me a favor, give yourself a big hug. And I'll make a promise to you. Or before I get to the promise. All right, so give yourself a big hug. Do me a favor, don't grab or reach for anything on the way up, because I'll make you a promise. I promise you that we will not drop you. However, if you reach or grab for anything, then I'm going to have to break my promise, and I don't like to break my promises. Do you understand? Yep, okay. And I say, in your luck, we only drop patients on Fridays or whatever day of the week it is. So you're lucky today is Thursday. And they kind of start looking at you all nervous and stuff. It's like, just kidding. And then when I tell them to take a big, give themselves a hug, I say, okay, it's gonna feel a little uneasy, but just pretend you're on a magic carpet ride. And you sometimes get a chuckle and they relax a little bit, but you have to be able to back up what you've said, especially about not dropping them. So communicate. Keep that patient informed of what's going on. So when you get to the patient, kind of guesstimate their weight and know whether you could do it, you and your partner can do it, or if you need additional help. Now you get a patient like Fluffy or Marisol and who was it, Ricardo? Are they gonna be able to get Fluffy up some stairs?
If we were together, yes. Well, the correct postures and good communication, we can. But
Or is what, like 300 something?
That's a challenge.
I think that would be a challenge.
Yeah, that would be.
So Ricardo's feeling foggy today. Oh, that's what we got to do tonight. Thank you for reminding me. We got to pick class officers, and then we got to do. Got to find out what time you guys are coming in on Monday. All right. And figure out what the best equipment is to use to get those to move those patients. All right. Again, know what your limitations are, what your abilities are, and anticipate muscle fatigue. Here's another quick story. So almost 6 years ago, we were called out for a gunshot victim, and the victim, who was wanted by the police for shooting at the police, had gotten shot, and he was down in a big embankment. Unfortunately, this area had a lot of, I don't want to call it volcanic rock, but big little rocks like that. And so it was hard to get good footing. And I knew that as soon as I took my first step and I lost my footing and I fell down and I cracked my back. Yeah. And I shouldn't have gone down there. I should have known better, but I'm a very curious individual. And they said, oh, he's dead because he looked dead. He had that look, that pale look and everything. So I wanted to see the body, right? Well, the fucker's moving. Sorry. The dude's moving. Sorry for the kids that are listening. Bad Lou. Yeah, he's moving. I'm like, oh man, he's not dead. Great. And so he had 2 gunshot wounds, one to each ankle. He had his quadricep muscle behind the leg blown out, and he had a round in his chest. So you think he's gonna be walking up the embankment? It was a good, 75 feet, maybe 60, 70 feet up, and then to get to the truck. So we're talking about 100 feet. And this guy was probably like 220 or so, 230. Yeah, it took 6 of us on that terrain. It was hard to get your footing on that terrain. So you got to think about that. Plus the muscle fatigue. The bigger they are, the more you're going to get tired. Okay. So when you're going to lift, the most common grip that we use is what they call the power lift. You want to make sure, just grab on, lift. So to do a power lift, so you see how they're looking at each other? Almost looks like they're about to have a shootout. Feel sorry for the patient. Are they pretty evenly matched? Up here.
Give or take.
What was that?
Give or take, they're right there.
Yeah.
What
Might
was
be
that?
just a tad taller, but it's not a big height difference. And she looks like she could handle the weight. So what they're gonna do, remember, feet shoulder width apart, square up your pelvis and your shoulders with your feet, and they crouch. And it looks weird. And you might have to bring that, remember, you want to keep the weight as close as possible. So they go down, they're literally squatting. It almost looks like you're going number 2. So you squat down and using, he just ruined my presentation. You see how he's using his back? You don't want to do that. You want to square your back. Hers is a little bit better, still leaning forward, but there's only so much you could do. So be very careful. You want to be very careful about how you lift. Again, his back is a little bit too bent for my taste. So again, you're just using your leg muscles, go straight up. Squat lift. I hate this one. So with the squat lift, they're kind of using the stronger leg in front because they have a weak leg or something's wrong. So they're using that for the power to use that stronger leg to lift. The problem with this is, let's see how this gurney is. All right, so you see how the gurney right there is not all the way, what we call all the way to the ground? Ideally, that's about as low as you want to go. Because you could squat down even with a gurney, be able to use the power lift to go straight up. When you go all the way down, that power lift becomes a little bit harder to do. I mean, you're literally going to have to sit on your calves to be able to go down that far. And then to lift all the way up, greater chance of injury as a result. So for those of you taking notes, don't lower the gurney all the way down unless you absolutely have to. Power cots, not a big deal. Manually powered cots, it's a big deal. And you'll see it on Monday. When you're carrying with one arm, how many of you, when you're carrying, you're kind of leaning the opposite way, try to carry that thing? Okay, that's a no-no. Your back muscles aren't that strong, especially your lateral back muscles. So you want to keep the weight, first off, as close as possible. And you don't want to lean. You definitely want to try not to reach. And I'll show you a couple of videos where it's hard to do, not reach. Questions so far?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right. I've worked with people that as I'm pushing, I could feel they're pulling. Well, think about you're pulling a gurney. You're going to pull it with one arm. And you're kind of bent back a little bit. You have that 260-pound patient, you might have to pull a little harder. Well, you're risking injury by doing that. So the proper body mechanic rule is always push, never pull. So push, don't pull. What the person at the feet should be doing is just steering. The person at the head is the one that's pushing. Now I have short legs, so when they're pulling up front, it's making them go faster than I can keep up with. So another reason to push and not pull. See a lot of pictures. Now, as far as types of moves, so we need to get the patient from where they're located onto our gurney so we can transport them, right?
Yes, sir.
So I've been involved in a pretty serious crash. Unfortunately, one of my passengers is not doing very well, but the driver or the passenger side is up against the rock hill, and I'm in the driver's seat, and I don't have a four-door car. I do, but not in this case. I don't have a four-door car. So there's only one door to be able to get to that victim. So how are you going to get me out of the car?
Can you repeat that?
So you need to get to one of my passengers that's in pretty bad shape, but I'm in the way. So how are you going to get me out of the car?
Are you capable of moving on your own?
Nope.
So I guess a way to go would be to assess how bad your injuries are first to decide what we can use to get you out.
My passenger is unresponsive. They got blood coming from different parts. Looks pretty banged up. Me, I can't tell you what's going on. And I'm not drunk before you do a field sobriety test on me. And I have an obvious deformity to my right forearm. And I got some scratches on my face and I got some glass on my face. Now what? The hint is right in front of you.
Is it the armpit forearm drag?
Well, you could do that.
Yeah, you're hurt, no? One
Yeah,
of your
that's actually
forearms.
nice. What was that?
You're hurt one of your forearms, no? That's what you said?
But that's the right one. So if you're getting him out from his side, he's on his left side. So you can get him through the left side.
Yeah, but you could get his shirt.
Just be careful with the right. Just be careful with the right side.
Yeah.
So it'll be a shirt drag because you have an injured arm, so you don't want cause more damage to the patient.
Yeah, it is going to be challenging with the armpit. We actually call that, well, it's a different type of move. An extremity left or Georgia Street. No, what I was getting at is you're going to have to do an emergency move because of the fact that there's another patient that's more critical than you or than the one person. So you need to get him out of the vehicle as quickly as possible with kind of not worrying about spinal precautions. Reasons for doing an emergency move, as you see here, immediate danger to the patient or to the rescuer. And that could be the condition they're in. But also when there's fear of fire, explosions, smoke, or other chemicals. When there's an urgency to get victims out of the vehicle, then you use emergency moves. Literally, you just grab them, take them out. And then obviously you can't drag them or you can't, might not have your partner, so you have to drag them. So there's the armpit forearm drag, or grab the shirt and just drag them that way.
You said your arm was the only thing messed up, though. We couldn't have you do self extraction and then take over on your other person?
No, I said I was disoriented, had glass in my face. We're just finding a shortcut there. Okay, there's people in the car and the car's about to blow up. What do you do, Gabe? Come on, come on, come on.
Drag them all out.
Why?
Because there's an emergency. There's a hazardous threat to not only them, but myself. So I'm trying to preserve whatever I can, cut what I can, and get them out.
You're not going to yell and say, get out of the damn car, hurry, it's going to blow up.
I'll be yelling, but I don't know if they're gonna be talking back.
But you're supposed to be keeping calm. You don't want to make the situation worse by yelling at them, meanie.
Or just spray them with the water.
We're not on a fire truck, man. We're on the ambulance and all this stuff, or else we would have done an extrication, made it fun.
That's true. That's true.
Still do the other. So, one of the things to know about me and remember about me is there's a method to my madness. In other words, remember this story on Monday. That's all I'm saying. There's a method to my madness. Because I've had people argue the point with me. Because they say, no, it's an urgent move. Because the definition of urgent move is immediate threat to life. However, it's an immediate danger to the patient. They're going to die.
I think I lost you, Lou.
No, I'm here. I'm just looking at something real quick. I'm here. Oh, no, it's not Monday. It's on. You have your exam on Wednesday?
Oh, let's see.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So then remember that story for Wednesday.
Wait, what was the story, sir? Like my internet was messing up.
I already forgot it.
Oh.
Story is you have to do an emergency move whenever when there's somebody worse further away in the vehicle. Like if you need to do CPR. Do an emergency move to get the other people out of the way so you can get to that person that needs CPR. All right, so like I said, urgent move, immediate threat to life, so you could use a rapid extrication or a soft extrication as Gabe wanted to do with me. What rapid extrication is where you do not use some sort of device to secure the patient before putting him on a backboard in a vehicle accident. Normal extrication requires some sort of like a vest type immobilization device, which we call a cardiac extrication device. And then you put the patient on the longboard or the backboard. However, in a rapid extrication, you don't use the KED. You just put them on the board. Self-extrication is they get out of the vehicle on their own. And a lot of times that's what you find. You show up at scene and they're walking around, calling their loved ones. Oh, I got in a car accident, calling their attorney, calling other people, letting everybody know, putting it on Facebook. Oh, look at me. I just got in a car crash. Paula's agreeing with that.
I've seen it happen a lot, especially on Snapchat.
Can you believe people? Jeez, what's society come to? And the last kind of move, which is the one we most do most of the time, is a non-urgent move. No threat to life. Move them in a normal, regular manner. For a non-urgent move, you do have to worry about spinal precautions, or in other words, protecting the spine. With emergency move, you don't have to worry about it. It's be dead or be paralyzed. What do you think is better? Or worse? Whichever one. So, all right. So the non-urgent moves we use are a direct ground lift. Now, we really don't do that. We do the extremity lift. We really don't do direct carry method, thankfully, but we do use the draw sheet method a lot. Way too much. And that's where kind of the problem occurs. So direct ground, you're literally picking the patient up from the ground. No, we have backboards, we have flexible stretchers, breakaway stretchers. Shouldn't say flexible, breakaway stretchers. We have scoop stretchers. We have other things to help lift that patient up. Especially with all the bad stuff up there. You're the patient. Do you want the cooties transferred to you from their uniforms?
Nope.
Nope. So you're literally scooping the patient up and directly lifting her up. Look at that. They got her on their knees. That's weird. They lift and move over. Honestly, there's a better way. Lower the gurney, although not that low. And then you could use the extremity lift. Like I said, extremity lift is also known, I know it as the Georgia Street method, or GS. Or you could say George Strait, either one. I'd understand either one. Georgia Street or George Strait. We used to joke about that. We called it George Strait. But GS. We will go over this method. Basically, you get behind the patient. Or one person gets behind the patient. Let's say they're laying down. So the person at the feet is going to grab the arms or the hands, sit the patient up. Second person is getting behind the patient and then putting their arms underneath their shoulders or underneath on their armpits, and then keep reaching forward and grabbing the wrists and then crossing the arms, as you can see here. He shouldn't be on the balls of his feet. He should be planted. So you notice how they're mad dogging each other? So they're going to communicate. He's getting in a position, and I wouldn't necessarily go around that back leg. What I tend to do is just grab the cuffs of the pants. You can still lift the patient up that way. And so the count of 3, you lift up. I would put the gurney
way closer to them.
I would put the gurney right over here next to her on her left side. So all they do is go straight up and then move her over onto the gurney. So that's why he's on the side. And that's why grabbing the cuffs of the pants, just lift up and guide the legs over. And all he has to do, the bald dude, is just lift up and kind of turn a little bit and put her down. So this is actually a very good technique to use. Like I said, the other one, nope. I don't recommend it. So up and over. Again, I would probably put that gurney a little bit lower. And they need to have the cot ready. They still have the straps on there.
As I was saying, a lot of these, they don't show them dressed with a sheet on it.
Yeah.
Which I think is major in helping you reposition a patient.
Yeah, I remember using paper sheets But the first EMS company I worked for, we actually had breakaway stretchers, and then we put this paper sheet over it, and that was pretty good. I really liked that breakaway stretcher. That was on top of the gurney, on top of the mattress. Yeah, it was a little uncomfortable for patients at times, for the ones that went a little bit too far to the sides, but I used to love that, especially transferring into bed, or if we had to get them up or upstairs. It was a lot easier to manage. And then the next company I worked for, they kind of got away. They didn't use those, so it kind of sucked. But with regular sheets nowadays, and that's one cool thing about El Paso County, even in Culberson too, is that you exchange linens. Nobody says, "Oh, they're stealing our bed sheets and our pillows and all this other stuff and our towels." Here, they're interchangeable. You grab them from Del Sol and you go to Las Palmas and you drop off patients there and you leave the linens there and you pick up a fresh set. They don't care. In Southern California, man, you had to have your own. If they caught you taking some of their linens, they would be like literally running after you to get back their linens. Or the managers would get a phone call, "Stop stealing our linens." Sometimes we get memos, "Do not take so-and-so's hospital's linens." Like, what the hell? You charge for that stuff. Make money. Direct carry, kind of like the ground lift. Although his hand seems to be a little high. Does that look appropriate to you?
No.
Is his head supposed to be in the middle like that?
In the middle, like over her butt?
Yes.
No, but if you kind of think about it, his hands are going to have to be further apart. Remember, you want to try to keep your shoulders close. You don't want to open them up too much because you lose some of the strength as opposed to this core. So you would have to adjust. So it's a little iffy, but it just, perception is a big deal. So anybody feeling comfortable with that? Or is it just me?
What about her head? Won't it just
Yeah,
go
Yeah, I
I'll
would
say
do
that.
off once they lift if he keeps his hands like that?
Yeah, and her neck's gonna fall back. It can close off her airway. So do a little bit more support. Do you see the problem with this particular lift? Oh,
I just
wait.
think that's a backboard lift all the way.
Look where his hand is now. Oh, that's a little higher, but there you go, Vanessa. You're the patient. It's like, oh, hell no. I'd be slapping some bald dude.
I'd get my ass up and I'm in pain at that point.
Yeah.
And so is the bald dude. After you gave him a right hook. No, but you see the problem, especially on the bed. You got to lift that patient up somehow and get her. And again, look how high up the gurney is. Why is it up that high? I've already told the publisher. Their pictures for me are great discussion points because they suck. They're like, "Oh, you should be one of our editors." I'm like, no. I love talking smack. This is one that you will do quite often, and that's the draw sheet. Now, the easy thing is you got both people. The reality is you got one person on each side. Now, are they reaching a little bit?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they are. Here's what's wrong with this picture. I'd say 95% of your patients are not this young. Is he gonna care if there's a little bump on the way over?
No.
No. But you get your 84-year-old patient that's brittle, and you get that little bump, what are you going to get?
I
Ow, ay jole, ay carbon.
This is good.
My dad, it used to slip. He'd say "nunca," the other Mexican word, not carbon, but the other one. Just switch 2 letters around. So they just slide it over using the sheets. The reality is you're gonna, like I said, be on either side. And so the first person is reaching over to be able to come back and lift up. You see the problem? The reaching over? And then you have to be able to have enough strength while reaching over to lift up. And then bring her, and once you get close, that's not a problem. Now, on the other end, the other guy, or on the other side, the other guy, he's fine. He's able to lift up, but now he has to reach over. And what did we say about reaching over?
Plus an injury.
Yep. You wanna try to do that, or you want to try not to do that whenever possible. Okay. All right. So Ricardo and Marisol determined that the patient's injuries were potentially serious. What gave you that idea? But that he did not have any immediate problems with his airway, breathing, or circulation. Okay. So he's bad, but not that bad. They recognized that the mechanism of injury, the pain, and the numbness put the patient at risk for a spinal injury. Yes, we covered that. And also that they would require assistance because of the patient's size and because it would be necessary to carry him up the stairs. Oh my gosh, I'm tired just thinking about it. So as Ricardo completed the assessment, Marisol radioed for additional personnel to assist with lifting. Yay, you guys thought about it. You're going to need it. So what equipment should you have to lift and move the patient? Come on, Mr. Gabriel. You should know this.
Backboard.
A backboard. How about straps to that back? Yep.
And then blocks or a towel.
Okay. Tape. Heavy lift belt. No, just kidding. You know those lumbar belts that people wear at stores that do lifting all day? But I'm just kidding about that. That's pretty much it. We use the term packaging a patient. And it doesn't mean getting him ready for UPS. It means getting him ready to put him in the ambulance or on the gurney. So we put him on devices, carrying devices, including the wheeled stretcher, which is our cot or our gurney, so we can load him up into the ambulance. So packaging him up is getting him all tucked in, ready to go for that safe transport, okay? So the main piece of equipment that we use is our wheeled stretcher. Again, also known as a cot, also known as a gurney. We talked about the weight of these gurneys. When I was starting out, the capacity, the first one was like 400, 450 pounds. And then the Strikers came out and they were like 500 pounds. I'm like, damn. All right, cool. And they have gnarly wheels, better than the Furno wheels. And you guys will see this on Monday. And they're like all-terrain tires, and you can go 4x with these things. The problem is the terrain. Again, the Furno wheels, you'll see they suck. We had a lot of issues taking them over terrain that wasn't concrete. The bad thing about the wheeled stretchers, though, especially when they're up, is if the patient moves, you have the possibility of it tipping over with them. So you never want to leave it unattended with a patient on there. You always want to have one person stay with the patient. So that way they don't get any ideas about moving around. So for her, look at the height difference. And I'm pretty sure if you look at her height and you look where you look at the level of that compared to where her arms is for it to be 90 degrees, is there a lot of space? So do you think she was here when they initially lifted this patient up? And again, I'm not trying to be sexist. I'm just talking about reality.
Yes.
Really?
No, probably not.
Okay. I'm trying to see. We'll get Paula to be at the head of lifting a patient up on a gurney, or one of her classmates on a gurney. I'll bet you $2 of your dollars that the gurney is not going to be all the way up. Not saying I don't have faith in Paula. I'm just saying that it's going to be very difficult at this height. Because what did I say? You want the taller person at the head because of the height. This is what we call, you see how this angle, although my angle sucked, but you see how the angle is downward?
Yes.
That's what we call the loading position. Because look at this height. From there to there. So this bar is set to the height. So you need that. Anyway, so like I was saying, they've probably already switched. And it's not me being the sexist, believe me. To where he's going to be doing the loading in. Now, if she's that strong, hey, you know what? More power to her. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, the politics begins already. There you go. No. No, 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 no. Should you do this?
No.
No.
Pretty sure that place has an elevator. I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure that the ADA says they will have an elevator. No. I could be mean and say you got to lift a patient up on the gurney up to the second floor of this building. You'll be like, Lou, share what, go, this is even worse. Look at that terrain. The striker can actually handle this terrain. Look at those tires.
And they're walking the patient backwards too.
No, yeah. Yeah. Can this little dude lift? Anyway, Josh. I've seen these gurneys. I don't like them. This just doesn't instill a lot of confidence. You see how thin they are?
Yeah.
No. And then the way the tires are, I don't know. I don't know. So we were talking about the gurneys, and they got better with time. Like I talked about the 500-pound capacity, then they started going up. And they realized that the gurneys, if you notice, they're not very wide. And so you have what we call a bariatric patient, which is like morbidly obese. Their love handles press against these handrails. And so it was a comfort issue. So they decided to make wider gurneys. And this is what you see here. These are called bariatric gurneys. They're made for morbidly obese patients. They're wider and their capacity is a lot more. I think they're like 800 pounds now, or rated to 800 pounds. Hopefully never test that out. All right, so we're going from a wheeled stretcher to a portable stretcher. Kind of a portable stretcher here. You don't really find these anywhere as far as I know, but pretty strong aluminum most of the time, because aluminum is a lot lighter than steel. And this is kind of a tough, I wouldn't say canvas. Yeah.
It looks like a dolly.
Yeah, it kind of does. Here's a litter cot. Ambus, I think they use these. Military, they use these. Any type of big MCIs, like if they have to move patients in the hurricane, they'll probably put them on a litter cot. And I have a couple here. I don't like to use them. They're too bulky, but if you've seen war movies where they're carrying injured soldiers, that's all it is. Oh, now if you've seen anything from Iraq and Afghanistan, they have those carts that you put the litter cot on, and it has like two big wheels on or one big wheel on either side, and it's almost like you just put it on top and you push it forward. So makes it easier. Another piece is a stair chair. Used to take patients up and down stairs. They have different types. We have an older stair chair. It really lets you discover muscles you either haven't used in a long time or you didn't know you had, because they're all sore when we've done this. All right. The newer ones, they actually have tracks on them. Now, you definitely want to use spotters. This is why communication is important and strength is important. I had one class, the last night class, they almost dropped me. Yeah, and there's video of it. See, you have the spotter going down. You should, if you're going down, yeah. Although I would also have somebody behind the person at the back, so they slip. That safety can kind of grab onto their belt and hold them up. The gentleman at the bottom, he's talking to the one holding the legs. The guy holding the legs shouldn't be looking down. He should be looking at his partner and the patient. So the newer ones have, like I said, have those tracks, just like a appliance dolly, where you tilt it back, and those tracks just help glide down the stairs. Unfortunately, the one we have doesn't have that luxury. You actually have to muscle it up and down. But these, the guy at the head is just holding on to these handles. The guy at the feet is just keeping the weight up, so it just glides on down. It's a piece of cake. I hate to do this, but I know it's getting up there in time. So what we'll do is we'll take a break. I have 8:04. You want to be back at 8:20? All right.
Yes, sir.
I will see you guys back at 8:20.